It happened as I was leaving Unicorn this afternoon. I walked outside and looked at the most amazing sunset. I hope some of you got to see it. It was just extraordinary oranges. And that was turning left. Then turning right, I went down to Teagle's Landing and saw, I had to turn on some lights, but I saw the work that had been done. Of course, most of you probably know that the EDC has approved funds for some time in 2021 to really redo that site in a significant way. But until then, it's been left in great disrepair. And Woodstock being Woodstock, with some wonderful citizens as always, Brenda Blakeman went down and cleaned it up from the terrible condition it was in. And so a thank you to Brenda for doing that and being an example like so many people in Woodstock do. And that was two wonderful things that happened as I was leaving work today. So thank you. I'd like to move on to citizens' comments. If there are any, please let us know. Yes, Beth Finlayson.
Sorry, I'm just saying I'm in my Woodstock apparel because there was a group of us that took in the and moved the picnic tables today. And it's just a citizens group: T. Belisle, John Spector, Ray Bourgeois, Joe, and myself that put away these. And I'm hoping that maybe at some point the road crew might do that. But until then.
Well, thank you to you and everyone else who did that. That's wonderful. And they were certainly well used, plus the new ones that we had this year, both on the green as well as in the old Pie site, which were well used. And the thank yous have gone out to LCAM Realty for allowing us to put those picnic tables there. And hopefully they will allow us to do that again next spring, summer. So we look forward to that. They're certainly wonderful. And again, another example of citizens stepping forward and doing volunteer work that helped make this village what it is. So thank you for that, Beth. Any other citizen comments? I don't see everyone on my screen at once. That's what I'm using. So if you don't speak up, I guess there are no others. So let's move along. Additions to and deletions from the posted agenda. There is one addition to the agenda that you wouldn't have seen. The Rockefeller Investment Fund, the committee that sort of takes care of that fund, of which I am a member of that committee, has recommended a change in the wording, which is pretty straightforward. And there's a new sentence that we'd like to put in instead of the general one. And that sentence reads, annual distributions are to be made from the fund between January 1st and January 31st. The distribution will be adjusted in line with tax increases for the town and the village. So that's a little more specific than the previous one, which simply said by February 1st. And which left a big open period of, we don't know exactly when we're going to get the funds distributed. So we've now stated specifically between January 1st and January 31st. How much we get will be adjusted in line with tax increases for the town and the village. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Rockefeller, for that. But I'd like to have a motion to accept that change in our statement of investment objectives and policy. And then the select board will be voting on that as that change as well. Is there a motion from this board?
I make a motion to accept the change.
Second.
Second, okay. So motion is made by Seaton, seconded by Daphne. Any further discussion about it? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any aye, opposed? None, the motion carries. So that change is made. Next, we're moving on to our manager's report. Bill will give us a general report as well as the financial report. Bill?
Sure. I've been meeting with department heads to begin budget discussions, which have been going very well. I have also done some preliminary research into some potential grants for downtown businesses, and I'm going to try to coordinate with John Spector and Beth on these, so we're not duplicating efforts here, and I can work together with them on some efforts. So I'm just kind of starting that process. So I don't have too much to report at this point on that. I've registered a town and village for a water arrearage assistance program, which will offer some assistance for homeowners on their sewer bills. So Beth Fish and I are going to do a webinar on Thursday to learn more about that. And we have also been working, I know Robbie has been working on the kiosk and the parking meter installation as well. As far as the financial report, I think things are going along pretty well. If you noticed, we've kind of gone back to the original format that we had about a month or two ago, and that's really because we're in the process of kind of redoing the finance reports. We've got a good team working together, Jill Davies, John Spector, Beth, Zoe, Mary Raleigh, and myself are working on that. But for right now, we're going to continue with this format. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Hopefully, I think we're kind of on track here.
For the most part, yes, given that we're looking at wanting things to be in the, 34% range.
That's correct, yes.
For this time in the fiscal year. I do have a question. Under special articles, we have audit expense of $800. And I can't recall, why are we having an audit expense, which we do every year, as a special article, as opposed to within our budget itself, Bill?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Jeff? I'm sorry.
Okay, on the budget report, under special articles, there's an $800 figure. We voted that in as a special article for audit expense.
Sure.
Why is that there as a special article? I can't recall why we did that as a special article, and so it's jumping out at me. Why wouldn't that be part of our original budget, since we have an audit expense every year?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I would think it would be as part of the budget too. Let me go back. I'll need to do some research on that.
Thank you. That's one thing that kind of jumped out at me, as why are we having that as a special article, unless it was an extra expense we hadn't anticipated and it's going to, but I don't know why it would have been under a special article. Anyway, under special articles, those two things are the reason why there's a negative figure under total village general fund. It's not really negative, it's just that that figure was the special articles.
Right, that's correct, yes.
Which changed the tax rate, so that it's what it all got paid for. But I know Seton and I were wondering about that a little while earlier today.
Okay, let me find out about that, and I'll report back to you at the next meeting.
Thank you. The other question, which is I think one I've asked before, and I still don't have a good handle on. Maybe you could report back again too. Is the miscellaneous income? Don't really have a good idea of exactly what the miscellaneous income is.
Okay.
47,000 budgeted, and 36,000 has already come in. Could you remind us of the source of that, Bill?
Okay, I will. I'll research that and get back to you on that one as well.
Thanks.
Sure.
Any other questions from the trustees on the financial report?
Yeah, I had a question just as we were also looking at the revenue. Do we expect to have any future revenue from Irene recovery?
No, I don't think so. I think that's zeroed out, because I think that's all closed. I'm pretty sure. I think that's been, and I'm not sure why that's still on there, but I think that's over.
Yeah, just if we don't expect any more, I was just wondering if we could take it off.
Sure. Okay. I'll follow up on that as well, why that's still on there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If I have a simple question, this is a very simple question, but I noticed you have revenues 13.87% in, but we've spent 35.98% of our expenses. So does that affect the cash flow a lot? How do you handle that, Bill, in terms of money flow?
No.
Is that something we're concerned about, or is I don't know,
No,
I'm new to
no.
this, so.
No, we're not concerned about the cash
Okay.
flow. So, I mean, it does get a little tight at this time, right before this time of year, before the taxes come in, but
Right.
we're still doing fine.
Yeah,
It's,
okay.
we just watch we just watch the expenses and remind everybody to watch what they're spending, but no, there's no issue with cash flow.
Any other questions? Yes.
Oh yeah, and I had one, and Jeffrey and I talked about this today, but why do we still have the highway department information on here if that's not something trustees are dealing with?
I think that's an accounting thing, but again, let me check on that as well, Seaton.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good point. I'm not sure why that's left on there because it's obviously zeroed out. So let me check on that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions concerning the financial report?
Can I ask you a question about the manager's report, Jeff?
Sure.
Okay, I just, I was reading through Bill's weekly notes, reports yesterday, and just a couple of things, because I'm kind of new and not familiar with a few things. One is you mentioned a guy named Jeff Martin, who's the energy coordinator. How does he come into town, and is he from the state, or is he somebody who's a private consultant? Or?
This is part of it was an intermunicipal agreement that was included 7 or 8 towns, and he was hired, and so the town of Woodstock, along with actually participates in this effort. So he's hired to do, to look for work on energy efficiency programs and to find energy savings for us. And that's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but that's how. And so we contribute to that whole effort.
Where does he come from, Bill? Is he a state employee or?
No, he's actually employed by T-Rock, by Two Rivers, Ottaquechee Regional Commission.
Okay. So is he somebody we were looking to engage, or he was coming to us to provide services to our town?
He would provide services to our town. Yeah,
He approached us. We didn't approach him. He approached us to engage in this conversation.
No, actually, he was hired by. I mean, technically, he was hired by the 8 towns, but he technically works for Two Rivers.
Got it. Okay.
So actually,
Shall I give you some more background on this?
yeah.
If you don't
Thanks,
mind,
Jill.
Jill.
Jill's more the expert here than I am.
And he was voted in at town meeting last year.
He
Okay,
was,
so I
yes.
didn't know this. Sorry.
So we've long, the town and the village, or the town at least, has an objective to get to net zero energy. And we've tried to do this by ourselves, and we've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years, maybe. And it's too much for us to do ourselves. We don't have the knowledge. Sustainable Woodstock Energy Group has done some, and then we've done some as a spin-off from that. So we wanted to hire somebody who knew what they were talking about and could work to get us the grants and point us in the right direction. And we looked to Hartford as a model, and they're a big enough town that they hired somebody full-time. And in fact, the person that they hired was Jeff. So we are not big enough. We didn't feel big enough to hire a person full-time. So 7 towns got together and raised the money through special articles to pay Jeff. And we feel like it's a good idea to share this, because many of the jobs that he will do for one town, he can carry over and recommend the same thing to multiple towns. So we're sharing the effort. We have some management control of him. We're one of the larger contributors, so we have our priority list, which might be slightly different to some of the other towns.
Thank you. That helps me.
Thank you, Jill. Yeah.
Any other questions for Bill?
I had one more. I'm sorry, Jeffrey.
Don't be sorry.
Well, there's things I note these things in the weekly minutes. I go, I should speak up about this, but Valefield, the wonderful redoing of the courts, the tennis courts, that look great. However, the design is curious to me. It doesn't appear that the fences are in the right spots and stuff. And I just wondered, does anybody mind if I called Craig Dewitt directly to ask him about what I'm puzzling about a couple of things that are out there. I didn't want to overstep my bounds by just calling him directly.
If you could give me a call tomorrow, Bill, or
Okay.
excuse me, Thursday, and we can,
Sure.
and I'd be happy to give Craig a call, or we can call him together, and yeah, we can follow up on that.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
Sure,
No big deal.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Well, thank you for pointing that out.
Okay.
Anything else for Bill? Hearing nothing. Thank you very much, Bill.
You're welcome.
And let's move on to our police chief's report. Robbie?
Hi, good evening, everybody. So this, just so you know, this coming month, we'll be participating in the Governor's Highway Safety Thanksgiving Click It or Ticket campaign. That runs through the 20th of November to the 29th. We conducted 103 directed patrols since October 13th as part of the continued action plan for speeding in the village. And we issued 73 tickets as a result of that action plan. I'm going to jump down. I'm going to talk about meters last, because then we can dovetail that into the other two portions of the agenda.
Robbie, before you move on, could we ask a question about
Yes,
what
sir.
you just said?
Yep.
How would that number of tickets compare to a comparable period, say a year ago? A, and B, what did you find is there such a thing as an average speed you found in the village in terms of speed offenders?
I don't know the answer to either of those questions, but I can look at where we were at last year at this time. And in terms of an average speed, yeah, I wouldn't know that either, because it's sort of all over the place in terms of speeders. I will say this, the officers generally will issue a ticket for vehicles that are going 35 miles per hour or faster in the village on a side street. Yeah.
So it's pretty safe to say 73 people were going at least that fast in the village during the time period you were.
But some of those numbers, because I can't carve out those numbers, some of those numbers were also on the east end in front of the police station. But I don't know exactly how many. But in terms of the action plan, there were a fair number of tickets written.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and were some of those tickets written on
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
River Street?
Yep. River Street, South Road, Pleasant Street. Those are the big three for the village, and of quite well, and Woodstock Road in front of the ESB.
Okay.
And
have you, in relation to this question, this topic, have you heard back from Ottaquiche Two Rivers on the request for them doing a speed study in Woodstock?
I have not. Nope.
Is it a time period when you would follow up on that, or if you haven't heard back from them at all?
I did send a follow-up email last week. I'll do another one when I get back into the office on Thursday.
Thank you. Sorry, continue.
That's okay. November 18th will be our annual holiday food drive, Stuff a Cruiser. This will take place in front of the PD. And if you can't make it that day, there's a donation box in the lobby of the Emergency Services Building where you can donate food this time of year especially, but also because of everything else that's been going on in 2020, the need for food is really great. So we'll be putting that box out, and we'll be doing the Stuff a Cruiser, like I said, on the 18th of November between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. in front of the PD. And all the food donations go directly to the food shelf. And then I'll mention too, we'll be doing our annual Stuff a Cruiser toy drive during the 2 Wausau weekend events that are planned. So I'll talk about that again. But I don't know if we have another trustees meeting before that or not. I didn't check the date, but in any case, that's what's going to happen in December.
Great.
We said goodbye to Officer Jessica LeBlanc on the 31st of October. That was her last shift. She has arrived safely in North Carolina, and she began with her new PD down there at Cary, North Carolina. So again, we wish her well. That said, we have hired a new officer. We were very fortunate in order to be able to pick somebody up so quickly who's so qualified. We hired Officer Sean Smith. He has about 6 years of law enforcement experience with the Springfield Police Department. He is a use of force instructor, death investigation certified. He's a taser instructor. He's given presentations on human trafficking to lodging establishments in Springfield. He's very much into community policing, and I think he'll be a good fit and a great addition to Woodstock Police Department.
When does he start?
And when he comes on board, I'll bring him. I'll introduce him around the village, of course, and I'll make sure that he comes on December's trustees meeting. His start date is December 17th. Or excuse me, November 17th. We didn't have any problems during Halloween. There were some kids out, but it would seem to be fairly sparse. Veterans Day parade is scheduled for tomorrow. Begins at 10:45, and again, if you're not familiar, starts out at the Legion Hall at 10:45. They march down to the courthouse, and they have a very short ceremony, and then they march back to the Legion Hall. So there's a very slight interruption of traffic, and I encourage everybody to come out and attend the event. It's always a good thing. Also, happy birthday to the Marine Corps. Today, 245 years old.
Hoorah.
And meters. So the meters, the single-space meters are estimated to arrive about the week of December 6th, and will be installed immediately. That's kind of a plug and play. All we gotta do is take the old ones off the post, put the new ones on. I attended the design review board meeting last week. They approved, of course, the kiosks for the Green and Mechanic Street. Those are also estimated to arrive around the same time, the weekend of December 6th. And we're also working with Park Mobile. We just got to finalize the contract with them and get everything squared away. Park Mobile, of course, is the parking app that we're going to use. And that should be good to go about the same time. So I hope with, any luck, everything will come together nicely. Currently, our revenues for October this year were $13,553.20. And compared to last year, 2019 was $17,846.20. So it was less, but I think it's definitely has gone up compared to what we've been seeing over the past few months, of course. And that's what I have for my report. Any questions?
Robbie,
Yes, Daphne.
when will you be taking down the meters on the Green and Mechanic Street?
When the kiosks are in place, probably I suspect we'll terminate the existing contract with the existing meter company about the same time that we install the new meters, and whether the kiosks are ready to go or not, just because there's no point. We'll have to, when we terminate the contract, that will be that. And but I think, like I said, I think the kiosks are on track to arrive at about the same time. I have a company. We're going to do precast cement bases for the kiosks that are on the Green, and we plan on putting the kiosk on Mechanic Street underneath the porch on the pad of the Welcome Center, so that it's protected, but it also will save us some money in having to buy another precast cement pad. So we're working with Weed Concrete to get that settled, and then I'm actually going to have a call this week with the kiosk company in order to make sure we have all the dimensions and everything like that set up. There's solar, so there's no power or anything to run, but there are bolts that have to be placed certain certain distances apart in order for the kiosk to set on top of the bolts, and then you'd bolt it down to the pad.
Concerning the kiosks, Robbie and I have been talking about, they're coming in as a gray color. And come springtime, we've talked about how it might be nice to have them match the color, the green of all of the rails going around the village green. But they're going to arrive gray. To have them arrive painted green was going to be a large expense, but beyond the expense, a big time delay, which we didn't think was a good idea, especially the time delay.
Right.
So just so everyone understands why they
I
will
think-
not be green initially.
Initially, right.
Initially.
Oh, I'd like to add that for any, and I think I mentioned this before, and I also told the design review board the same thing. We will have videos up on our website, the police department's website. We can also put it on the town's website for that matter, of how to use the kiosk. We will meet with people individually on how to show them to use the kiosk if they choose. And we thought we would also have a couple of workshops to have in case people were wondering how to use the kiosk, just so that, I mean, they're very simple, but sometimes folks aren't exactly sure how they want to use something like that. And the same goes for the Park Mobile. So we'll have videos that will explain everything. Beth, you have a question?
I
I'm
have
sorry.
two.
Yeah, I didn't mean to jump on you.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
Sorry.
So I have two. One is that we might want to put those videos on the chamber website, because it goes to the
Happy.
visitors. So we'd be
Good
happy
idea.
to do
Happy
that.
to- I'll put them on any web. We could probably, I don't know if the listserv is able to link videos.
We'd be happy to put those on the Woodstock VT. The second one I'm going to go back to. Are you still are you doing any cell phone patrols? Cell phone
We're always
usage?
looking for cell phone violations. Yeah, I haven't specifically,
It seems like
organized,
overwhelmingly bad.
it always is. And anytime we see a cell phone violation, we write those tickets. I will say this, I haven't organized a cell phone action plan, so to speak, in a little while, only because I've been short-staffed. But that's something we can definitely put together. And we usually do once or twice a year. So it's probably.
I just noticed it with
coming up
truckers, especially, people
Oh.
driving like this. So,
Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's a big fine for a commercial vehicle. That's no question about it.
Hey, Robbie, I've got a question for you. Do you have so you've got the tutorials and which is great. Do you have a plan for sort of like giving people heads up, like maybe a week out, posting something on the listserv that says, hey, these are coming, this is changing, or giving that information maybe to Beth to distribute to the businesses so they can let their employees know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, once it gets closer, we'll be sending out reminders saying, that parking around the Green and Mechanic Street is going to go to kiosks. Of course, the rest of the village, Central Street and Elm Street, is going to remain very much the same with single space meters. So there's really not anything to announce there. But yeah, we'll definitely keep everybody apprised.
Okay.
One other thing I forgot to mention on my report is the winter parking ban. It begins November 15th. I ask everybody, please pay attention to that. We don't like to ticket or tow. Generally speaking, we won't tow unless there is a snow event or they're clearing snow, but you will certainly get a ticket if you park on the street after November 15th, except in the designated overnight parking spots, which if you want to explore that, we have it explained on our website.
And what time in the evening does that start, the ban?
Midnight.
Midnight. Thank you.
Midnight to 6 a.m.
Right. So there's two other items, Chief.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the agenda in front of me, but I think one of them was, can you remind me what it says? I'm not looking
Yeah,
at
one
it.
of them is the time limit discussion because
Thank
the
you.
new
Thank you.
meters have to be set.
Time limit. So currently in the ordinance, there's no time limit for how much time you can purchase on a meter at any given time. So you could purchase up to 6 or 8 hours or whatever you wanted on a meter. The purpose of the meters are space turnover. It's always been the mantra. That said, with the new meters, my question to the trustees is, do you want to continue with unlimited amount of time to buy, or do you want to limit the amount of time you can buy at any one time to, say, 2 or 3 hours? You would always, of course, have the option to go back and either put more money in, or if you pay with the Park mobile app, you would, of course, have the opportunity to extend your parking. So let's say, as a for instance, you're from out of town, you can buy up to 2 hours. So you buy 2 hours, you go around shopping, and then you decide, hey, let's go grab a bite to eat. So you go sit down at the restaurant and you realize, hey, our 2 hours are almost up. Then you would, of course, have the ability to extend your parking by using, either, like I said, the app, or walk back out to the car and back out to the meter and put some more money in the meter. So that's my question. Do you want to limit the amount of time that you can buy at, each time that you put money in the meter, or do you want to just leave it as is?
It's a good question, but I kind of think, this is just my opinion, everyone, that the meters themselves, there's a learning curve. I'd rather, and we're entering a slower time of year in general in terms of how many visitors there are to Woodstock. So I think it makes more sense to leave it, that aspect of it, as is, and review that before the start of the tourist season for next summer, and to see if there's good reasons, if we can think of good reasons to change it at that time, because we can do this anytime. Is that right, Chief?
That's correct. These can be reprogrammed at any time. And just as an aside, I mean, if you wanted to, say, for instance, leave the green and Mechanic Street buy as much time as you want, but limit the other Central Street, Elm Street parking to 2 hour or at a time, or 3 hour at a time, you can always do that. So there's lots of different options, but it all can be done later. It can all be reprogrammed. It's not an issue. But because we are getting new meters, I just felt I wanted to throw it out to you.
What do the other trustees think about this?
I agree, leaving it as it is right now and then reevaluate.
I agree.
I do too.
Okay. And Bill, Seaton?
I like the concept of doing it in sort of different zones, so that, like, maybe the sort of the heart of the village is 2 hours, but then, the further away you get, you could have it be up to how many ever hours at one shot. Because I think if really the point of this is turnover, then you want to encourage the people that are right in front of stores to turn over more often than the people that are parked a little further out, or maybe, back on Mechanic Street or something like that. I'm not married to it, but if that's why we have them, is to turn over, then we need to make them turn them over, or at least put a little more thought into it.
I think that's a good point of discussion. And how would you feel if we went along with leaving things as they are for now, but before the busy season again, taking exactly that up and talking
Yeah,
about
I mean, if we can set a date and say, in March, we're going to reassess, or April, we're going to reassess and figure that out. And then maybe in the meantime, we have conversations with places like Hanover, which has sort of that mix where, like, the parking garages, you can park a long time, but if you're on Main Street, it's 2 hours completely max. You can't even add to it. And I know that because I've gotten a ticket.
In rethinking during the holiday shopping, and we have people coming in, we may want it during the week before Christmas or 2 weeks before Christmas to have it just the 2 hours, just so that there is the turnover during the shopping season, the holiday shopping season.
The question is this going to be a normal holiday shopping season? I wish it would be, but I have doubts. Personally. And especially with, you know, the word that we're hearing from the governor today. And
Yeah, and I know Courtney's gotten a lot of cancellations at the end.
yeah, so I think
Well-
as a merchant who would benefit from turnover, I just don't think we have that problem this year. But perhaps before the summer season, we do want to take a look at that when we know there's going to be a big increase. I don't know. I could be swayed if enough of the other trustees really think that we should do that now. I tend to think we should do that later, but
I'd be interested to know if Beth has an opinion, just from what she hears anecdotally from a lot of different businesses about if it's helpful to have that turnover, or if it's helpful for people to go, oh, I can be here all day and I can wander everywhere.
Well, I think with the 2-hour turnover, as long as we keep the parking forgiveness program in, so that
Yeah,
people can get, then
first time.
I think the 2 hours is okay, but I would go with the merchants and what they think. You know, I don't think that 2-hour deters anyone.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'd like to see that and also when we talk about, we would prefer that employees park a little bit further out, or on streets where you don't have to pay for it.
well, I
I
think
think
that I do think that they're doing that, Seton. I don't think that, you know, especially now that the pharmacy, which was the biggest employer in town, is
Yeah,
unfortunately gone, that those meters are all open by the Welcome Center.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I like that idea of it. You know, and we can change it, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't do it while you're thinking of it, sort of a thing. And that we, you know, and maybe because we've got these new meters, we start with it as we've got new meters, we've got a new concept. Let's do it all at the same time. And then if it sucks and people don't like it, or if it doesn't work, you know, we roll it back.
Would 3 hours be appropriate with, you know, so that you could have lunch, shop? I mean, 3 hours is,
3 hours is what Stowe does.
Yeah.
If we did make the switch, I'd recommend 3 hours versus 2.
I'm fine with 3 hours. That seems more appropriate.
So how many folks would like to go with the 3 hours on Elm and Central at this time, or put the whole thing off until decision in, say, May, as to instituting any changes at that time? How many are in favor of making the change now?
I move to make I make the move to change now to 3 hours in sort of the central corridor there.
Okay. And Brenda?
No, I agree with leaving it the way it is.
So do I. I agree with Brenda.
Bill? Okay. And Daphne?
I too think that we should reevaluate it in March.
Okay. So let's leave it the way it is then, by the majority of opinion, and but reevaluate it before the busy season begins again. And so, Nikki, is there a way to make a notation so that could be on our agenda for, say, April?
Yeah, I can put it in somewhere.
That'd be great, so that we don't forget about it.
And Jeffrey, I see that Wendy Marinan has a comment.
Oh, thank you. I can't see the whole screen on the computer.
That's
I'm using.
okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Nikki. Just a quick clarification, I might have missed this along the way. I'm just curious what one is paying per what interval of time with the new meters and the kiosks. So in other words, how much does 3 hours cost?
It's $1 an hour. However, if you use a credit card, there is a fee for that attached to the first hour. So it's $1.35 the first hour, and then $1 an hour after that.
And that's what we have now, correct?
That's correct.
Right. Okay. I just didn't know if there was a price increase. Thank you.
Yeah. Good question, Wendy.
And so it's great. We'll leave it. I made a note for April, and Nikki will, of course, remind me. So we'll revisit it then, and I'll let meter company and the kiosk company know to program them as such. The other item on there was the library lot.
Yes.
When all of this began, we looked at reevaluating parking and meters and such. We didn't touch the library lot in terms of putting new meters or a kiosk there. And the reason for that is, well, number one, we leased that lot from the library, but then sublet, I think 11 spaces to the courthouse Monday through Friday. And that leaves 8 spaces that we actually meter. And the revenue from those meters is relatively low. We do break even basically on that lot. We're not losing money between the lease and the what revenue we get, but it didn't justify the expense of the new meters or the expense of a kiosk. That said, we're going to leave the old coin style meters in that lot. And of course, you'll also have the option of using the Park Mobile app in that lot as well. But what we also thought about was, what if we were to extend the parking permit program to that library lot? We wouldn't have to do the whole lot. We could do it space by space. So if we sell 4 additional parking permits to the library in the library lot, then we would just sign 4 spaces, and then the rest would remain metered. I'm bringing it up to the trustees because I just want to know whether or not you think that is something we want to do or not.
I think it's a terrific idea, Robbie, because we still have a need amongst employers and employees. And you've had many times waiting lists for those spaces in the Mechanic Street lot, the back spaces that are leased out in that manner. And we could do it the same way, where it's available to the public on weekends, Friday and Saturday, and leased Monday through Friday. And should be made available to businesses in town for the owners and employees, and start with and see what the demand is by throwing it out there, and hopefully that will help keep people off of the regular metered spaces who might be using them right now.
Okay. Well, I should add that based on what we get for revenue on the metered spaces that we strictly meter, not the courthouse ones, the fee that we would get for the parking permit is roughly about what we get for per space per meter per year. So we're not losing money. We might even do better.
So remind us of what that fee is in the Mechanic Street lot.
It is, you would ask me that. I think it's, I want to say, Beth, do you know, you pay it. Do you know what it's either $554 or $654? I'm trying to remember the exact number.
For in the Mechanic Street lot,
Yeah, what do you pay for your permit?
$140 a quarter.
Times, yeah, okay, so 140 times 4, whatever that is.
So it's
So
$520.
$564 a month, a year. Yep.
So even if we got 4 out of the 8 meters taken up by folks who otherwise, who knows where they're parking, that would probably be a good thing. What do the other trustees think about this idea?
Go ahead, Daphne.
Daphne, did you have a comment?
You're on mute, Daphne.
You're muted, Daphne.
Sorry. I think it's a great idea. I have a spot in Mechanic Street that I don't use as often, but it's nice to know that it's there and I can use it. And and I know there's a need for it.
Okay. Others? Trustees first, Beth. I want to hear what the other trustees think about this.
I think that would be, I think for, especially for our employers and employees, it would be helpful for them to have dedicated spaces, especially when you get into weekends where, you know, we've got leaf peepers and lots of people. I'm sure it must be very frustrating to have to search for a spot when you're trying to get to work. And it could also be a nice benefit that employers can provide to their employees as well, if they choose to use it that way. So I think there's a lot of different options. And I'd just be interested to see what kind of response we get when we put it out. But I like having that dedicated space so that we're sort of taking care of the folks in town, and then we're less concerned about the other spots.
I would like to say that I think that we need to relook at that program. And I think that what we should do is sell vouchers. And those vouchers could then park in certain designated spots. Because to tie up one spot every day for someone that's their designated spot that they purchased, then doesn't allow anyone else to use that spot. I think that we really need to look at how we do that program and rethink it.
Brenda, they're not individual spots in Mechanic Street. You can park wherever you want in the lot during the day.
Okay, so like I used to have a parking spot out behind the Historical Society.
Yeah, we
So
don't
I paid a price and that was my spot. And I know that like Pharaoh's, I believe that that's how they do it.
We don't have assigned spots. It's wherever you want to park in the lot.
Okay,
It's
so
just, yeah, but there's a limit to how many people can do that.
Yeah, so at Mechanic Street lot, there are, I think, 18 designated permit parking spots. If you have a permit, you can park in any one of those 18 designated permit spots, but nobody, unless you have a permit, can park in that section of the parking lot.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, and then
Right. Saturday, it's kind of a whatever.
That's right.
okay, that makes more sense. But I still think that there's ways that we could tighten that up and make it more effective, because I think parking is so limited.
Well, that might be part of a bigger picture, Brenda. That might be, you know,
Yeah, I think that we should.
that you might want to get into. But what about this issue right now? I mean, how do you feel about having that open for employees in the same manner?
I think that's
Street?
great. I think that's great.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. All right, Bill, do you want to weigh in?
It seems logical to me. I watch what's going around town. I live very close to the center of town. So what the employees need comes first, I guess. I mean, that seems pretty obvious.
Okay. All right. So, Robbie, how are you going to get the word out?
Well, we'll advertise, of course, on our website, our Facebook page. We'll tweet it out, and I'll put it on the listserv.
And perhaps we could get the chamber to send that out too.
Yeah, and Beth, I'll send you.
Yeah, if you send me something, I will send it out.
Yep.
And tell people to get in touch with the chief if they're interested. Is that not correct, Robbie? Or how would you like that done?
Michelle, if they get with Michelle, she'll take care of it from there.
Oh, okay, so
And
down at the Emergency Services Building.
That's correct. Yep. Just call the police department, ask for Michelle, and she runs all of that. She'll take care of it. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention about the meters and the kiosks, and Beth, you reminded me of it when I saw your sweatshirt. The Woodstock star logo will be on all of the meters and kiosks and on the screen itself. So just a little bit of a promotion for our logo.
Nice touch. How about music?
You know, like when you're filling up your gas tank, you can watch the TV or something. Yeah, no, we're not there yet.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other questions for Robbie before we move on?
Yeah, Robbie, I have one quick question for you, just out of curiosity. Looking at the budget, one of your items is police communication. And it's looks like you've used up 87% of that. Is that something that usually just gets spent in one big chunk one time a year, or what is that for?
That is, I think that's the pass-through. Is that, I don't have the budget in front of me. Do you know what the budget line item number is?
I don't have a number, but it just says police communications and the budget is $76,000.
Yeah, that's a pass through. So basically so the town actually funds the communications division, the dispatchers. Because
Okay, it's dispatchers.
they dispatch for fire, ambulance, and police. And that's what the village pays for that service, basically.
Okay, thank you.
And
Okay.
I don't know why the percentages are what they are. Some years we don't pay it until the end. Some years we pay it earlier. So it's just an accounting thing.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
We'll move on at this time to permits, use of the green. First off, the memory tree lighting, which will be on the 5th of December.
Right.
Woodstock Rotary and the Woodstock Area Chamber. Beth, you want to speak to
Right.
that?
Thank you. Generally, it is on the Saturday of Wassail weekend, which would be the 12th. And because we need to spread things out so much, we're thinking that it might be nice to have a local event, because people who buy those bulbs are generally local, to have it at 4 p.m. on the 5th. I have spoken with Ted Brady today, who's from the ACCD, about Wassail in general and all of the other events. And we can have up to 150 people socially spread out on the green. I don't expect to have more than that. And that's why we're asking to use the green on the 5th.
And that's all well within the governor's new regulations?
Yes, nothing has changed with the outdoor.
Okay, just indoor.
Yep, just indoor.
Okay.
How long does that ceremony usually go on for, Beth?
Half an hour at the most.
Right. Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is that we are encouraging businesses to be open late on the 5th as well as the 12th, so that people can come downtown and shop until 7 p.m.
Okay. Any other questions for Beth specifically on this, the memory tree permit? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
I move to,
Approve, Daphne moves, second Seaton.
Yep, second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Could I
Beth,
just add to that, Jeff?
Yeah.
I probably should. I'm going to put my Rotary hat on for a second, because historically we are putting the lights on the green on the 18th. So Al from Timber Tenders will be there with his bucket loader wrapping the tree on the 18th at 1 p.m. He'll be in and off, in a couple hours.
Do you know if the Woodstock Inn has plans to wrap the rails?
I don't. I need to ask that question. Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's
I can ask Courtney.
beautiful. That'd be great.
That would be nice.
He should know. It's a wonderful thing that they do. We've gotten used to it over the past few years. Beth, is there any other events having to do with the new version, this year's version of Wassail, that need approval? Now, you've mentioned luminaries, not just on the green.
Right. We were hoping that we could put luminaries kind of on the edge of the sidewalk, between the road and the walkway, so to lead people to River Street, to Mountain Avenue, over the bridge, through Mountain Avenue, and also onto High Street. So there might be, 50 luminaries for that.
They wouldn't be on the bridge itself.
No.
Right.
No, they would lead
Okay.
people to the bridge, then people would go over the bridge and then walk through. The purpose is a stroll, so people can stroll through High Street, Mountain Avenue, River Street, and look at the beautiful homes that are decorated. It's so people are in their little pods. There's not a great group of people, and we're just kind of encouraging them to walk in those directions.
And what day would that be?
The 12th.
Okay.
So that's on the 12th.
And the
Uh,
Rotary has agreed to, you know, fund those and help light those. So,
I think it sounds wonderful. I think it falls under the realm of that probably needs a permit also.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever applied for.
no, I didn't know what to apply for it. I'm so used to the sidewalks.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Okay, I'm
it's all-
sorry. I didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't consider that tonight rather than having a special meeting just
I
for
mean,
that.
I can,
Robbie, do you have any concerns with that? Or would you be able to help with, like, in terms of put one here and not here because cars and pedestrians and all that sort of stuff? I don't want things getting kicked over or blocking anything.
No, I don't.
the next trustees meeting is the 8th. I could do a use of the sidewalk if you would like to make it official. Totally up to you.
Why don't we do that? Why don't you just put the application in so that we're not getting lax in
Right.
And I'd be
requiring
interested
permits.
I'd be interested to see a map of it. I mean, as much as you.
Yeah, a simple drawing of where you want to put them and the quantity would be a good
Yep.
idea.
Whoops. Lost you. I can do that.
And I'd love for David to weigh in on that.
He has waved in on the event itself. We had a EDC meeting last, I think Mary was at it, and maybe Ray. And Jeff had an EDC meeting last Thursday night where he weighed in on our events that we're planning, as did Robbie, and approved those. Again, Ted Grady weighed in today and approved them, even the wagon rides, although we have to have wagon rides with people in families or pods.
Yeah.
So the wagon rides around town will be socially distanced and or families together.
So, yeah, so that was approved by David pending the contingency that the state doesn't change things before that time.
Exactly. And believe me, after today, it could all change.
Who knows? Who knows? Thank you, Beth.
What do you call you calling that a luminary stroll? What's your phrase to describe this walk?
It's a wassail stroll. It's a wassail stroll of High Street, River Street, and Mountain Avenue. And I have Carolyn Kimball is working with me on a deck of the door event so that people, and a porch event so that people are decorating their porches, decorating the front of their houses, and Jennifer Raymond. So I have people, and Anne Marie Boyd. So I have people on High Street, River Street, and Mountain Avenue that are leading that.
I know we're off topic, but when's all this getting announced around town? Is that something coming up soon? I know we're off topic, but I just wanted, since we're talking about wassail.
It was on the listserv this morning.
Okay, I missed
Oh,
that.
and
And
posters went up today.
Linden Hill plans on doing some decorating too.
Great. So
Yay.
if you let me know, that's great. We will add that to the map.
I know somebody on Pleasant Street is very excited about the door decorations, so.
Well, please let me know.
We'll
Are
communicate.
you
with you.
having,
Thanks.
Thank you.
are you having wassail stops along the way of your walk?
No wassail stops this year, unfortunately. That's next year.
Yeah.
That has to be in your own flask, Robbie.
That Robbie's not checking.
Yeah, right. If you see me with a thermos, look away.
Uh-huh. Well,
I think
sure,
I said this before. The very first wassail parade, and I don't know when it was, early '80s.
36 years ago.
Yeah, that one. there was the team of judges who went around, and for that one, there was wassail refreshments in all the stores. And they went around, and they didn't get to my store till they'd already been to about 12 stores. And I do remember that they crawled on the front door on their hands and knees.
Dear.
About 5 of them.
Well,
It never happened again. It never.
We'll see if the garden club does that this year. I can't speak for them,
Oh my goodness.
but they are the judges.
All right, let's move along.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
sorry, we had a comment from Wendy again, but I don't know if she's.
Oh, okay.
Wendy, it's Wendy again. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's actually not wassail. I was trying to get it in back to the parking decision, the parking lot decision. It's a suggestion / question. Does the library know about this? Because I'm wondering if some patrons of the library pay the meters to go to the library with this current arrangement, Robbie. Sorry, Robbie, this is a question for you. Sorry.
That's okay. The agreement, the lease agreement with the library is that they reserve, I think it's 4 or 5 spaces they reserve for their staff.
Okay.
And their patrons, the patrons of the library can use the metered spots that are in the library lot, or they can use the spots that on the green. So the answer to your question is no. I have not approached the library about it, in part only because we leased it from them, so it's really our decision. I don't know if the trustees want me to. I'll definitely reach out to the library to find out, but if not, I don't know how many patrons actually park back there. I suspect not that many.
Yeah. Those meters are not well used, Wendy.
Okay. No, thank you. I just didn't want it to be over. It was a question I just didn't want
That's a good
to be
question.
overlooked.
That's a good question. Thank you.
I think it can't hurt to give them a heads up, though.
Yeah.
As Wendy said, always nice to let people know.
Okay, moving on. So Zach's Place Turkey Trot. Zach's Place Enrichment Center. Dale, are you still with us? Yes, no? I can't see.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Jeff.
Oh, hi. So Dale, tell us about this year's virtual turkey trot.
Yeah, hey, yeah. So this year we're not socially gathering, but I thought it'd be really kind of a little bit of encouragement if we had our band on the green and people that were out walking and running that day, if the weather is good, could be encouraged just by the band. I'm not encouraging them to come and stand with us or anything like that. We will be handing out t-shirts, but most of the t-shirts have been mailed. We have about 500 people that have signed up for the turkey trot as of right now. And a lot of those people are not in Woodstock. So I would say we probably have about 200 or 300 right now that are doing it from our area.
That's great.
Yeah, we feel very fortunate. It's been a pretty good virtual event.
How many does that compare to normally, Dale? The 500?
Okay, so the statistics are actually pretty good because last year, we ended the day at 519 and we were at 500 about 5 minutes ago. So it's pretty good for right now. On the day of the turkey trot, we usually have about 1,400 to 1,700 people. But my guess is it's not going to be anything like that this year. It'll probably get up to about 750 and that'll be it. The people that are signing up are really big supporters of Zach's Place, and I recognize the names. They've been doing the turkey trot for years, but there's still a lot more to sign up. And I think it's more about supporting Zach's Place and maybe the walk with their family or run with their family on Thanksgiving Day, but that's
Are you going
about
to meet
it.
your revenue goals isn't it a lower fee for registration this year because it's virtual?
Yes, I lowered the fee, but I'm also charging for the t-shirt. So it worked its way out.
Good. Good.
So we're doing fine.
That's great. You know, I don't know what I'm going to do, Dale. I may have to go stand at the dummy just because so many years of me standing there. I don't know what I'll do that morning.
Jeff, I hope you'll just like come and hover on the green.
I'll come
Can you
say
just-
hello and listen to the music for a while, I suppose.
Actually, I wanted to just put out like, you know, our markers and everything for the families that are going to be walking and running on their own that day. And so it'd be really fun if, you know, people are standing on corners and waving to people that walk by, and if I can get people that play music to play music at certain corners. I just think I mean, the Turkey Trot is such a huge community event, and it's going to be sad that it's not this year. But it'll be nice that the community can kind of like embrace themselves from a distance and wave and encourage other people.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's lovely. So any other questions for Dale concerning the event as she's got it set up for the green?
So Dale, you said most of the t-shirts have been sent out. So about how many do you think you would be giving out that day? And so, and what are the logistics of doing that so people don't bunch up?
So what we are doing is the t-shirts cannot arrive till the 19th of November because we were still getting sponsors until today, actually. But the final artwork has been done, and they will be shipping the t-shirts probably by the end of the week, and I should be able to ship those out early next week. I would say right now about 1/3 or more are not in Woodstock of 500. And those statistics continue to, like as the group grows, it continues to be about 1/3. But we are also doing pickup at Zach's place from the 19th of November until the 26th. And I'm sending out constant emails, so I'm encouraging people to pick up. So what we're doing is I have people that are helping, and we're just getting the t-shirts all put together and rolled up with names on them. And hopefully we'll have a lot picked up by then, but we will be on the green, probably handing out about 50 to 60 t-shirts that day,
Okay.
maybe 100, but not a lot. You know, I really want to be safe. And I have a lot of people that have asked if they could volunteer, and I've limited my volunteers even to 5 people and 2 tables, because it's a family on one table and then it's the 3 of us on the other table.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dale?
Question,
Hearing-
Jeffrey.
Yes.
Is the route actually the normal route that people take? Is it actually mapped out on the streets so people know where to go if they're doing it on their own? I didn't.
Well, so I have a map from previous years, and I will have the markers 1, 2, and 3. However, people are doing their own event. So it's really up to everyone what they want to do. I mean, the whole point is just to sign up and support Zach's place.
Of course. Thanks.
Other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the permit.
Make the motion.
Bill has made a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Brenda.
Okay, Brenda seconds. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. You're on, Dale. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Yay.
Good luck.
Thank you, everyone. All
You're
right. I'll
welcome.
see you later. I'm signing out.
Okay. Bye-bye. Take
Bye.
care. All right, moving along, we have an update to the East End Park regulations and fees. And this was a meeting that Daphne and Bill from the trustees attended, along with our municipal manager, Bill Curbin, and Michael Caduto representing Sustainable Woodstock.
Sorry,
So
Jeffrey, did you miss
Hey,
something on the agenda? I'm sorry.
perhaps I did.
Isn't
Yeah, there's the driveway
number 2?
permit.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed the
Skip over that.
driveway permit. Oh, I'm sorry. Brett Ralph. Thank you, Bill, for pointing that out. Is Brett Ralph with us?
Hey, Jeff, I don't know if he's here. I didn't really reach out to him because I wasn't sure if this was an administrative matter, if this needed to go to the trustees.
Well, can you speak to this? Actually, it has gone to the trustees in the past.
Hasn't, okay. I know Ken has looked at this, this driveway and he's comfortable in signing off on it. Basically, what Mr. Ralph is doing is just moving the driveway slightly down Maple Street. So we don't see much, impact on the, if you look at the sketch, it looks like it is just a minor move there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I think Ken has put just one or two conditions there for Mr. Ralph to follow.
Yeah, I see his conditions. I mean, to me, it's minor, and since our highway department has looked at it, and you've looked at it, you don't see any problem.
I do not, no.
Okay, all right. I'd entertain a motion unless and then there's discussion during it if people have questions for Bill. Any motion to approve the permit for Brett Ralph?
Just have a question first. Why does this fall under our domain to approve this as a design board and development board thing? I don't know why it falls into this category of our jurisdiction.
Because I know the last time this happened, and I think it was Tom Weschler's house, and it again involved moving a driveway and the disruption to the village, the potential disruption. And the scope of these changes can be more dramatic than this particular one. But in the past, there have been some larger ones that impacted neighbors and traffic and so forth. So I think for that reason, it has come before the trustees.
Okay, I just can't tell from the drawing where this is, but I'm sure that's important. It's a very pretty drawing, but I can't tell what's what. So I guess if they've already, traffic people are okay with it, everybody's okay with it, I guess I could vote for it, but I just don't have enough perspective of it myself.
Well, I would go along with municipal manager and the department, the head of the highway department, Ken's opinion in this case, but I still want to entertain a motion.
Bill, maybe you can answer. So is it just moving over a couple of feet?
Yes.
I'm just trying.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
But it's all still on his property.
It's still on his property. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at, you can see where the property line is, and then there's a setback line. So he has plenty of room there. There should be no issue there.
And it won't be a problem. And it looks with the negative slope, we don't have to worry about additional water coming into the road or anything like that.
Correct. That's correct. So that's why, and I think that's why Ken has put that extra condition there, just for that reason.
Okay, and it's not anything raised that'll mess up snow plows or?
No, because Ken checks on that too. Yeah, that's a big concern of his, so that should not be an issue as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would make a motion to end discussion and vote.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve from Seaton. Do I have a second?
I accept.
Brenda seconds. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving this change to the driveway on Maple Street, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Well, hearing, all right, one
I'll
abstention.
abstain. Yeah, because I don't know enough about it.
That's fine. So we have one abstention, and the motion carries. All right, moving along to our agenda, which I need to get back to. update to the East End Park regulations and fees. Okay, back to where we were. Whether Daphne or Bill would like to talk to this, or either Bill, any one of the three of you who was at that meeting, that would be great.
Or I can speak on it. Bill had some great suggestions. We spoke, and Michael from,
Bill who?
I'm sorry, Bill Corson.
Sustainable Woodstock, yeah.
Thank you.
Michael from Sustainable Woodstock was there, and he too had some great suggestions from his past experience in crowds and managing events, etc., and looked at the verbiage that we had on the proposals for the East End policies. We tried to make the language clearer so that there were not any discrepancies moving forward, and actually abbreviated some of the statements. Does everybody have a copy of the East End policies with the adjustments that we made?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So the adjustments that we made are, it's pretty clear, they're in red. And did everybody have a moment to go through them?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought they were all very, very good and clear, and I liked some of the deletions that weren't necessary. Just
Yeah.
made it more succinct.
Exactly. So does anyone have any questions or suggestions on the policy?
I've got a question
Sure.
about just the first one, only in terms of how it's actually going to work. With the unused portion of the park will remain open to the public. So that means that is there any enforcement that has to come on our end? Because we're saying, like, if you're getting married, you get that part. So like if somebody runs through somebody's wedding or whatever, is that a violation, or is that, I mean, is that enforced, or we just hope everybody's?
Won't want it run through the wedding, but
Yeah.
when one makes an application, there is a map, and you need to be very clear upon which portion of the East End you will be using. And it is drawn out, and it's part of the application process. So you are basically using that one portion, and the remaining area of the park is open to the public.
Okay.
Whether or not it's going to be used is, probably not, but it's not going to, anyway.
Well, and when we had our initial discussions, Daphne, we talked about if it was a largish wedding, that it could be as far as from the pergola over to the landing of the stairs, the middle stairs that go down from the parking lot, and that anything to the west of those stairs would remain open to the public, and the wedding would take place from that point to the east.
Yes, and again, all of those lines would be part
On
of
the site map.
and
Yeah.
be, very clear. Yeah.
The one thing I didn't see on here that I was wondering about was in Bill's original questions were some questions dealing with who is responsible for what, specifically naming the police for decibels, specifically naming the health officer for other things.
Well, there's one thing about that, Jeffrey, is that the more I look at this, I'm fussing and worrying about who in town is going to do what. But this is an East End Park policy for somebody who's going to be doing the renting, so they need to know what the rules are. They don't necessarily need to know who's going to be enforcing the rules in the town, like the fire corridor, a 20-feet corridor. Obviously, the fire department would be checking that out if there's a big event, sort of automatically. And Bill Kerben would actually make sure those people are aware there's a big event, so they know to combine. Some of that kind of falls into regular, the regular duties of the town personnel. So I'm not as much worried about that as I was originally. Who does this, who does that? And I think, most of the permits going to be coming through approved from us as trustees. Bill will have any details he needs to share with us for each application. So I think we're probably in pretty good shape. Bill, have I got that right? Is there anything else I'm missing in that discussion?
No, I think that's right. I think you're right, Bill.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I think you had a good meeting and with some good results as far as I can tell. And I like everything. I don't know if there's any other things to be discussed other than to move to accept this as part of our East End Park policies.
I move.
And is there a second?
I second.
Okay. And then there's discussion at this point. If anyone has a further question before we vote.
I just had a question. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, so you can go ahead. You first.
Oh, I just had a question just about the fee structure. Are these similar to what other comparable venues would have?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was previous to this discussion that was had this week, really, the fees themselves.
Well, just that it's updated for like per day as opposed to whatever. I mean, I assume that's just to specify.
Yes.
It wasn't specified at all before, so it just says $100. $100 for what? Well, it's per day. Is that, you know, is that an hour, a day, a week? You know, what is it? Just to make sure it's clear. That's the only reason I was put in there.
Yeah.
And again, it's really case by case because there is in there, it says that people can set up to 24 hours before and up to 20 and take down up to 24 hours afterwards. And if there's another venue coming on right after the first one, obviously you just don't have that leeway. And so it's really taken by case and what is going to be happening and the time limit and whether or not additional fees would be charged for longer time or longer setup or longer, you know.
In theory, you know, one event could take 3 days if they take a whole day to set it up, have the event, and then the whole day to take it down after that. That's like a 3-day rental instead of just 1 day, and then the fees might need to be adjusted to accommodate that. It kind of prevents the town from having another event the next day or the day before. And it's kind of a, you know, maybe more detail than we need to look at, but just a thought. And you know, if it's 1 day, it's 1 day. But if they need to put a tent up the night before because it's going to be a big reception or something like that, that's going to get more of the time, the park's time.
And Seton, to answer your question, about the fees, Mary McVeigh did a fair amount of work finding comparable fees from other parks in New England. So that work was done in the beginning. And then we narrowed down how we wanted it to be for us, which we approved previously.
Yeah.
By the way.
Okay.
Okay. So any other discussion or questions about the changes themselves? Because that's what we're voting on. Hearing none. All those in favor of changing the policies as presented for the East End Park, say aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Motion carries, and thank you for doing that work on Monday. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jeff, I have heard back from Courtney, and in answer to lighting the green, he's going to check with Ben, but he's pretty sure that they are.
Oh, great. That's great. Thank you. That's a quick answer.
Thanks to Bill Kerben for putting all these red lines in there for us. It looks really good, Bill. Thanks for doing all that.
You're welcome.
I mean, that made it very easy to see the changes.
Yes.
That's right. Thank you,
Really
Bill.
clear. Thank you very much for taking all in.
Okay. All right, moving along. Where are we? Tree care with Don Wheeler. Don, thank you for your patience in hanging in there till we've come around to this.
Sure. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hey, Don.
Thanks for listening. Following up on the last trustees meeting, I presented proposals for tree care in the village, and this is a follow-up from your request to priority list made, so we know all the work can't be done at once. So this is a priority of what I'm looking at having done first and then following up from there. So I don't know if you all have the paperwork from that, but basically what I'm looking at for this fall is to fertilize the trees on the green and to prune the trees on the green. And that is pretty much the time frame, all we have to do this fall. The planting of new trees is scheduled for the spring right now. None of the tree companies had time to do any planting this fall, and it's getting late in the season, so the planting would happen in the spring. And the price breakdown is listed on the sheet if you have it. And and come spring, we'll do the planting and more pruning, and hopefully we'll have another budget figure approved in April so that we can continue on with the work throughout the year next year.
Yes. Question? Somebody say something? I guess not. Yeah, Don, this is pretty straightforward. It seems like your options are limited by the funds, and the pruning is absolutely important. So that's, and the fertilization, that's almost, is the fertilization been started already? Did I see people out there this week?
It probably has been. I approved it, and I haven't gotten the word exactly when it's going to be done, but they could have started now.
I think that they did. The fertilization part, yeah.
Jeff, I have some questions if I can.
Yes, Ray.
Sure. I noticed that there's only one quote, unless there's others that aren't in the paperwork. And my other concern is there's a lot of trees on Elm Street, Central Street, along the outside of the green. All the sidewalk trees need pruning, and there's a lot of dead material in some of those trees. I would think that that would be a priority before planting, and get some more money next year to plant the, hopefully get more money next year to plant the trees. That would be my suggestion.
Yes, there have been more proposals. I had proposals from Timber Tender and from Skyline Nursery as far as planting goes, and Timber Tender still hasn't gotten back to me on the pruning part of it. So I went ahead with chippers because they were on board and ready to go. The priorities as far as pruning is flexible, and if there are certain trees, we can take a closer look at that on the village streets that are more of a concern because of deadwood, then we can do that. But there are trees on the green that have deadwood and are a concern also. So
well, I agree with pruning on the green. I'm just saying, instead of putting, what you have, $8,000 into new trees next year, I think there's still a lot of pruning that needs to be done on Elm Street, Central Street, any of the street trees in and around the village itself.
That's a good point, and we can look into that. There's also an option that Timber Tender presented that we can maybe get the planting done at a lesser cost by buying bare root trees. There's a nursery in New York State that we could buy trees from that are bare root and cheaper to plant, cheaper to buy and cheaper to plant, easier to handle because they're a smaller diameter. And that could be done during the dormant season early in the spring, and it would cut back on the planting cost, and that money could go into the pruning.
I know what you're saying, but I think if you're going to start planting trees in a green to replace the trees that are there now, you need to put in something that's 6, 8, 10 inches in diameter. Only because, you put a bare root tree in, it's going to take a year or two for it even to get established before it starts growing.
Yeah, your diameter request is way too big. 6 or 8 inches is pretty much impossible to move, and what I've gotten a quote on is 2.5 to 3 inch caliper, and they will respond a lot better once they're in the ground. They'll grow quicker than trying to put a bigger tree in and having a instant tree.
Well, quite honestly, I think you need to talk to a landscape company that knows how to do that, because you can transplant 8, 10, 12, 14, 20-inch trees with a tree spade with no problem. So I think bare root trees, I think small trees going in, it's just, right now, it's just a waste of money because you need something that's going to be able to take over for when these other trees eventually have to be removed.
All right, there's a question.
Yeah, Jill.
I'd just like to suggest that we buy from companies in Vermont. It's very important at this time to support companies in Vermont rather than out of state. As a state, we send a lot of money out of state, and I'd hate to see us do that as a town when we don't really need to.
Jill, if I can just let you know that most nursery stock comes from other areas than around Vermont. There's a lot of growers out west. There's a lot of growers down south. There's very few growers up in this area that grow their own material. They usually read wholesalers that purchase it and bring it in from other areas of the country and Canada, for that matter.
I see.
That's true. Going back to the diameter size of the trees, if we go to huge trees, it's going to be a huge expense, and it's going to cut down on the number of trees that we can plant. It's going to be pretty limited because trees are expensive.
It's going to be a reduction in the amount of trees you purchase, but you won't have to purchase as many as if you put in a few larger trees. And putting in 4 or 5 larger trees is better than putting in 10 smaller trees. 10 smaller trees that are going to be too close together, and you're going to have to probably remove some in 8, 10, 12 years.
Well, we'd space them out with the anticipation that they would grow and we wouldn't have to move them. That the spacing would be well planned ahead of time.
Can you reiterate what trees are in danger now? We were talking about trees going away. We're adding new trees to replace them. Is it the emerald ash borer disease, or what's the?
Yeah, that's at this time it's recommended that ash trees not be planted because probably they won't be viable in the future. Because
I just meant my question: what's in danger now, though?
It's emerald hemlocks from woolly adelgid are not recommended to plant now.
I'm sorry, I'm not being clear, Don, excuse me. We're planting new trees on the green. So the question is why? And the answer is, I think that there are other trees that are dying or being removed, or why do we need new trees to begin with?
Right, we had an extensive array of elm trees around the border of the green, and because of Dutch elm disease, a lot of those have died off. So we feel we need to replace some of those, and we're going to try and use trees that are more disease resistant. And
so Ray's concern is that the trees won't be big enough to get the feel of the shade and stuff around the green. Is that it, Ray?
That's correct. And a lot of the trees, obviously through no fault of anyone's, but budgets and money have not been pruned for a long time. And if you look at, take for example, a tree out in front of the village butcher. There's someday somebody's going to be the end of that, and one of those limbs are going to fall down and just either hurt somebody or damage a car.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I guess you all can work out where the budget money goes when. But in terms of diameter of the trees, I mean, I done a lot of work with trees when I was a young man. Sort of had my own little tree pruning business. And the small trees that do grow quickly, I'm more in favor of that than trying to get a big tree with a huge diameter planted in there.
Well,
just for the sake of having shade coming in. Yeah.
I know what you're saying, Bill, but small trees that grow quickly don't grow as strong as trees that grow slower. The branch structure is weaker on trees that grow quick.
Okay. I'm not going to debate that because that's not in my knowledge range here. But it just seems to me if there's not quite as much shade as there was when these elm trees die, that to me that's not so much a big deal because they will grow up eventually, and maybe the feel of the green won't be quite as shady as it is now, but they will grow, and over time it will recover itself, right? So why
Well,
do
I'm
they have to be?
and it won't. I agree with that. I just think
Yeah.
it makes more sense to put a larger tree in than a 2.5 inch tree.
From my experience, the larger trees, the survival rate is lower on the transplant, and you might end up, sometimes they're guaranteed, but you're going to end up replacing them anyway. That you have a lot better success rate planting a slightly smaller tree, 3 or 4 inch diameter tree. The success rate and health of the tree is usually better than trying to get a bigger tree all at once.
Well, I'll respectfully disagree with you on that, but I'm just giving you my 2 cents worth. That's all.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ray. Thank
I'm
you,
just
Ray.
giving my experience and knowledge on that.
Yeah. And Don, specifically some of the smaller trees that are on the green, that some people are concerned about. I know the one dedicated to Phil Swanson, people are worried that that one's not making it. Have you identified which trees are not doing well?
Yeah, there's one maple on there that had pear thrip damage that is pretty much dead, and that is scheduled during the pruning on the green. That tree is scheduled to be removed and replaced. That's part of the replacement plan in the replacement trees. And there was another maple that died that was dedicated to Hallie Hassie, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Yes, and that's gone.
that one's gone. That one's scheduled to be replaced.
Great. Yeah, the dedication trees I think are important. I'm glad they're on your replacement schedule.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Is our job to approve these funds to be spent at 17,730? Is that what we're doing now?
No, actually, the money's already been approved. What we're
Right, so
doing tonight is really getting a progress report.
Got
That's
it,
what
thank
we've
you.
asked Don to do. So there's no motion involved in what we're hearing right now, so much as a progress report.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure that he had the discretion to direct that 20,000 the way
Yes,
he felt,
did.
and he's giving us a progress report. Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Yes.
Dave.
Yeah.
So the fertilizing's in progress. The pruning will continue to do, and if your requests and wishes are to do more pruning and less planting, we can definitely work toward that end.
Well, I think it makes sense to take a look at which trees might have a public safety impact on Elm Street or Central, where it's highly trafficked and car spaces are. That you might want to look at that and say, you know what, we need to selectively pick a few more of these trees for pruning that Ray has pointed out.
Right, and I have when I was getting these proposals, arborists from different companies have looked at these trees, and I can get their opinions and prioritize which trees they're going to prune first to maximize our budget and eliminate any dangers.
That would be great if that was the way you're prioritizing safety to people and property besides to the trees themselves. So thank you, Don. Unless there are other questions, thank you very much for that report and for revising the possibilities in the spring between pruning and planting as you see fit.
Very good. Thanks for your input and consideration, and we'll work toward getting as many trees pruned as possible.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, moving along now. The next piece of business is the Vermont Transit meeting that was held on October 23rd. And the notes have been passed out to the trustees. I would like to point out two things that came out of that meeting that we want to perhaps focus on, plus we can entertain any other questions. But Bill asked if we could have a public info meeting. They were not very happy about that. I don't think at this point having a public information meeting, but they said they would do so if we wanted them to. So I thought that should be something to have some input on. That would be one to, again, bring to the public's knowledge what's going to happen when. This is a big project. It's going to be a long time period. And basically, for some point in the spring until the third week of September, that will cover the scope of this project. And it's disruptive. I remember the last time 8 years ago when we did this, and it's something we have to live with. But some of the things that came up, one of them, so that's one of them. Do we want a public meeting? Another one we need to discuss is parking spaces, because under their plan, we would lose a number of existing parking spaces. We don't have to, but if we want them to stripe them, we have to. Now, Bill's going to speak to them to tighten this up, because it's slightly confusing exactly which spaces they want to eliminate. We have a list, but for instance, on one of them, they say spaces along Mechanic Street and Elm Street. Of course, there is nothing along Mechanic Street and Elm Street. So we think they mean Route 4 and Mechanic Street, perhaps the two parking spaces on either side where you're entering the Mechanic Street parking lot. However, as Bill pointed out, perhaps they don't realize that's a one-way street and those spaces can remain there, even with government standards, because it's a one-way street and people aren't exiting onto Route 4 or Central Street from the Mechanic Street. So those two spaces maybe could be saved because they didn't understand that, or what's our hope. But we would have to decide whether we're going to have them stripe these spaces or not stripe them, based on whether we want to lose some of these parking spaces. So those are two things that I saw as most coming out that we should tackle tonight. Input?
I'm just looking at a map.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so basically to let other people know, one of the spaces that would be lost is on South Park Street in front of the courthouse. Another one would be at the eastern end of the green, and one of the parking spaces closest to that crosswalk that crosses over to the green from People's United Bank area. Another one would be the second and third spaces in front of Coburn's Tonic. Not the first one, but the second and third. Seems odd to me, but they want on Elm Street. They want to remove both of those parking spaces.
I get that. I'm totally cool with that.
I don't think Coburn's is totally cool with it. But
it is. I feel like it is a like when you come around, I feel like it blocks. I've always felt like it blocks my view when I'm coming around in case there's pedestrians coming out.
I feel as a pedestrian that if a car is parked there, nobody really sees you if you're trying to walk across.
Yeah, I'm happy to get rid of that.
I agree too.
Interesting. Okay. There's two on Elm Street near the bridge that they want to remove.
Which side?
I don't know.
Oh.
Bill, do you know which? That was a bit confusing. They said
No, that's one of those we need to clarify with them.
Yeah,
they're not very specific there.
No, they said Route 12 and Elm and the bridge. I'm trying to think which parking spaces they mean. We don't know. And
Jill has had her hand up for a while now.
Who has?
Jill.
Oh,
Davies.
Oh, Bill. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
No, Jill.
No, Jill.
Oh,
Jill,
Jill.
Jeff.
I'm sorry, I might have missed something at the beginning, but what reasons are they giving for removing spaces?
They're claiming that it has to do with federal guidelines.
I see. Thank you.
Now, last time we had this done, we lost some spaces due to federal guidelines, and then we did gain some back after the whole project was over, and there's been no hoo-ha about that.
So have federal guidelines changed in the past 10 years?
That's a question I can't answer. I don't know. But they're saying they have to go by the federal guidelines because so much federal money is involved in the project. But we need to get our answer to them and resolve this quickly, because at this point they're saying to get the bidding process in, to get everything done, they need to get done and to get it out there, because we want to start as early as practicable in the spring. That they're trying to move on this, and they basically they need to know this week the answer to some of this. They not
I mean,
need to
if
know
we,
right away.
I mean, but if we say no, I mean,
If we say no, they do the whole project and they just don't stripe the parking spaces.
oh, so it's either they stripe all of them except for the ones we're losing, or we have to stripe all of them.
Correct.
Oh yeah, just let them stripe it. I mean, sign up. I imagine that's a lot of money and manpower.
Well, it's also a lot of lost parking spaces. You have to think of some of them that are unresolved, like the one in front of 37 Central, the one in front of Mountain Creamery. Those two parking spaces, those are important parking spaces. The one in front of the courthouse, that's a well-used parking space. Some of these losses are not.
Does Robbie know the answer to the reason behind the striking of them?
It's the reason I said it's government regulations. Whether they've changed in the past 8 years or not, I don't know. But they say these are ones that should go based on them looking at it. Now, some of them they might be wrong on. Like, for instance, maybe they didn't realize Mechanic Street is a one-way street. And so thinking that cars are coming out, they don't have enough line of sight, and they want to remove both parking spaces to the right and left of your entrance onto Route 4. But it doesn't go in that direction, as we know. So that's one Bill's going to clarify with them tomorrow.
Well, I think if we look at the ones that we feel like are important that need to stay, it would make sense to push back on those and get some clarification.
Well, we will do that. We'll get some clarification. But if they, in the end, if they say no, we're stuck with, we stripe them all our way, including the ones these. So maybe we can get those knocked off. I think those are two of the key ones to get knocked off. We get to stripe or they get to stripe.
I mean, what would?
So we'd have to stripe all of them, Jeffrey? We'd have to do all of them.
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
They said all or nothing. Is that right, Bill?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
But aren't we as a municipality also required to follow federal rules?
We're supposed to. However, that's like telling someone. That's like telling someone you can't come into Vermont without quarantining for 2 weeks and thinking every single person is actually complying with that.
I know, but we're the ones that are obligated to comply with the rules. And so if it's a federal rule, I would say it's a federal rule. I mean, if we need to get another assessment of it, that's.
Now, for instance, let me tell you again, an area where they put up signs last time, so many signs 8 years ago. We didn't like that. And we tried to limit it in advance, and we got away with them taking some down, but they said, no, the rest of these are our guidelines, and we're putting all these signs up. And after they left, we took the signs down that we didn't want. Now, nobody has sued us, and 8 years have gone by, and we have less sign clutter. Yes, Jill.
So I like that. I like that approach. And I'd suggest that given the magnitude of this project, we don't delay it. We just accept what they say and worry about it later.
Can't we just put our own lines down after they're finished? I mean, they're going to stripe what they striped, and whatever's missing, we just do those.
We might want to readjust. So I'm not against that. I don't think we could win all these battles. I think it's worth seeing if we can get the one change that I pointed out by Mechanic Street, those two. Robbie, do you want to weigh in on this?
I would just say that in addition to those two, which are important, there's 5 that they also listed that we were going to lose that are between Ford Street and Max Market that were not listed in the ordinance as parking spaces, but that they didn't oppose. It's just that they eliminated them because they weren't in the ordinance. So if you change the ordinance to add those 5 spaces, that's 5 out of the 14. Add the 2 by Mechanic Street, so there you're at half. The other ones on the green, I'm not sure why there's an issue there, but so be it.
Yeah, I don't follow what you're saying though, Robbie. I mean, the 5 that are by Max Market aren't ones that we use now anyway, correct?
Well, they're marked spaces, and that's why they included them in their mapping, and that's why they included them on the list that you see.
Okay, but
Between Ford Street and Max Market. And over the course of time, I guess, and before my time, they've always been there since I've been here, they were marked as parking spaces. And they're not vital, but they are parking spaces. And when you're talking about different times of the year, particularly, let's say, wassail or foliage, people use them. They're just not included in the ordinance, and that's why the state nixed them. But I mean, they could be added very easily.
they could be
even on
added.
our- even
They could
on
be
our own.
added. Yeah, they could be added to the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about that, but I don't see how we can add the 2 by Mechanic Street.
Well, you said if
So-
you push back on the ones on Mechanic Street, telling them that, hey, that's a one-way,
Yeah.
then I think we might get them back.
Yeah. Okay, I follow you now.
Yeah, I was agreeing with you in terms of telling them that maybe they didn't realize it was a one-way.
Right. So let's pursue that. I think I hear agreement that we will let them stripe, but we will ask them to perhaps add. We may have to pass that ordinance depending on what they say. It would say if we change the ordinance, we'll get those 5 back that are down by Ford Street and Max Market, and the 2 by Mechanic Street. Let's see if we can claim those, and we may have to lose the others, and perhaps that loss will only be temporary. Unless I hear an objection, we'll let Bill go forward with those directives.
Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good to everyone? All
Yep.
right, Bill, that's pretty clear to you?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So moving along, we have the appointment of the village treasurer. Candace Coburn, our village treasurer, is moving. We're sorry to see Candace go. She's been a vital part of our community for so many years, but she's moving south. She has sold her home here, and we need to appoint a village treasurer. Now, she has already given up a lot of her duties to Charles Degner, our town clerk, and he has agreed, if we so appoint him, to fill in as village treasurer until the vote in March for a new village treasurer. We checked with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and even though Charlie does not live in the village, they said he is eligible for this position. So we've checked with that. So he's qualified, and I think he would be an excellent person to fill that position until March, when a new vote occurs for that position. What do the other trustees think?
I agree.
Thank you.
My only concern is, are we obligated, as we were with trustees or any other position, to advertise it and take other applicants?
I don't think we're obligated.
Or is it recommended?
In this case, he's been doing the work.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to just delay things, and then I don't think in this case there's a lot of people clamoring to do this work. Are other people concerned as Seton is?
No.
No.
Okay. In that case, I'd entertain a motion to approve Charlie Degner as village treasurer to fill out the term of Candace Coburn until the March elections.
I agree.
No, I need a motion.
I make a
I
motion.
move that Charlie, oh,
Okay, motion made. Daphne, want to second it? Daphne
a
seconds.
second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of Charles Degner becoming the village treasurer as an appointment until the election in March of 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Who's abstaining?
Me.
Seaton's abstaining.
Yeah.
Okay. I say aye, so the motion does carry. And Bill, would you inform Charles?
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you. And thank him for agreeing to take that on as well. All right. So at this point, I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session where we have two matters to discuss. And so, Nikki, could you put us into that meeting space? And the first session will be the trustees and our municipal manager. And thank you, everyone who has been attending so far. If you're not with us when we come out, thank you for being with us this evening.
We'll just jump in a server. I don't have a lot of time.
For colon cancer, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your prescriber or an online prescriber. Cologuard is right there. That's a step in the right direction. We can, but it's not good on endless.
You're muted, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you. Are we all back?
I think
See
so.
Daphne and Bill, there's Seaton. Brenda, you back in?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can't tell on my phone. Great. So let's move along to approval of minutes. And October 8th, 2020, the conference call. I have some, my problems with it are all on page 5. I don't think we want to embarrass Mr. Sutherland with number 2. There's an obvious error there.
Oh, yeah. It's a typo.
So Nikki, can you change that? Mr. Sutherland does not think it is necessary.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Also, on the same page, down under executive discussion to discuss personnel, the motion to exit was the same as the time as to enter.
He's over here.
The motion by Ms. Cole to exit executive session, discuss personnel at, I don't know what time, but it couldn't have been 8:15, must have been 8:30 or whenever it was. Do you see that, Nikki?
Okay. Yeah, I'll look to see when that was.
Okay, and then the next one, motion by Ms. McElroy to, it should say exit executive session.
Well, no, did we have, I think a trustee and a
It was
select board
demo,
both
so-
had to do it.
Yes, but you're meaning, yeah, but we're exiting at this point, not entering. That's my point.
Yeah, 2 exits.
No, there's two, should be 2 enters and 2 exits.
Correct. And you
Right,
have
that's his
2,
point.
you have 2 enters, Ms. McElroy, and one of them should
Oh,
be
yeah.
an exit.
Oh, okay. You don't know me.
You just really want to do it again.
You did.
All right, so that time has to be corrected to the exit time also. Those are my corrections on those minutes. If there are others by others, speak up.
Mm-mm.
And then we'll approve both of them at the same time. So if not,
That's the nice part about me using this beam too, is Chris.
what's that? Are there any other corrections to that particular conference call? Hearing none, let's move on to October 13th. The conference call, the draft minutes of our actual trustees meeting of October 13th. Under the people who were present, Nikki, could you change Isabel Chicoine's, the spelling of her last name? It's kind of in the middle of the attendees. It's misspelled.
Okay.
That's the only correction I had, but other people may have corrections. And I looked through the whole thing, so you know, you did your usual terrific job, Nikki, by the way.
I don't know how you do it, Nikki, keeping track
Yeah,
of
seriously.
everything. Well, how do you do that? How do you keep track of it?
She's very good. She's very good at this.
Nikki,
Amazing.
you are amazing. But Geraldine Fowler's name was
Oh,
also
sweet.
misspelled.
I'll grab that then.
Line 16.
Sorry, what was it on 16?
Oh, Geraldine.
Geraldine Fowler.
Lost wave. I grabbed
Okay.
the emo goblin.
Yep. I found nothing in the substance that was incorrect. So I would entertain a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Whoa. So moved.
So moved by Daphne, seconded. Second, Seaton. All those in favor of approving both sets of minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye. Any nays? Not hearing none. That's done. And now I would entertain a motion to adjourn at
Yes, I move it.
9:30. Ooh, 9:39 approximately.
I move it.
Okay, moved by Bill, seconded by, I couldn't tell, somebody seconded. Brenda, thank you. So thank you all. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And have a lovely rest of your evening. And thank you. Thank you for, I think, was a good and productive meeting tonight. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye. Bye.